in this breakup, I feel like I'm taking this more seriously, where before I would kind of feel like I'd healed it through talk therapy. And, I'm like, oh, great, I left that relationship, so I must be so much better. And it's like, honey, that is the beginning.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Uncoupling. This is, yes, a breakup episode, but we more talk about how to move through a breakup gracefully and have more self-empowerment coming out of it. And this week we have on Katie Sarafe. Welcome. I am terrible with pronunciations. Did I pronounce this correctly?
Yeah, Sarife.
Sarife, perfect. Yes, Katie Sarife. She's a beautiful actress known for her 2019 movie Annabelle Comes Home. She's also known for Supernatural, Youth Consequences, and her upcoming movie Stalked, which she's also producing. And she's also known for owning her own acting studio called Just Be Acting Studio. Welcome to Uncoupling.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we also have beautiful Murphy behind her on the couch. He's I believe 8 years old. 8-year-old, is it a cockapoo or a poodle?
He's a Maltese poodle. He is 8 years old.
A multi-poo.
He said he had a few words on breakups and how to get.
I was going to say, if he has any advice for uncoupling, he's happy to contribute.
Oh, yes. Kiss mommy's tears away.
Well, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you currently in a relationship? What's your status right now?
So, hi, I am not currently in a relationship. That is pretty recent. So that's interesting. So I'm quite, I'm a good...
Freshly into uncoupling.
I'm going through the healing process now. So yeah, it's an interesting, difficult journey, but I think you learn a lot about yourself. So
do you feel like this is a breakup that you're freshly going through, that you feel like this is the big learning curve for you? Or do you feel like there was a previous relationship where you're like, I want to emulate that breakup with this breakup? Or do you feel like there was a past breakup you learned more, for listeners today going through breakups?
I feel like in this one, though, like the circumstances were different, a lot of this stuff, I'm learning, like a lot of the stuff that I can do on my end is the same, or like the reason that certain patterns keep happening is the same. So though the person is totally different than anyone else I've dated, and like the relationship was fairly different, a lot of the struggles still showed up the same, just in a different kind of outfit, I guess, so to speak.
Right.
So I feel like it's a lot of the same lesson over and over and over. And that's something that I think life will do until you heal yourself. And so I think, like, it's interesting because I think I thought that I'd grown a lot more than I had from my other breakups and everything. And I did grow a lot. But this just, like, there were, different relationship dynamics, I feel like, highlight certain aspects of yourself. And this showed that I still had a lot of more on my journey to do so that I can be the best partner for somebody. And that's not to say that everyone else in the relationship is perfect, and I'm not, but I'm just going with what I can do on my.
Was this relationship a long relationship, this current one?
Yeah. It was about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And like,
it's a big one.
Yeah. I mean,
just time-wise.
I've had longer relationships than that, but I think we were a lot more serious, like discussions of going a lot further and stuff like that. So that's part of the thing that makes it harder. Plus, I'm older. I've grown a lot from relationships, and I've kind of like learned what I want and what I don't. So, so this person fit a lot more of those boxes, which
can be hard to walk away from when you thought you were looking in the right direction for what you were looking for.
Exactly. And yeah, I just like I've come to realize, like, I have a lot of abandonment wound issues and attachment wound issues, which it's a long healing process. I feel like But that kind of stuff will get brought up over and over and over unless you really work to heal that, which I've been doing in therapy, and now I'm doing in a book and stuff. And I'm in this breakup, I feel like I'm taking this more seriously, where before I would kind of feel like I'd healed it through talk therapy. And, I'm like, oh, great, I left that relationship, so I must be so much better. And it's like, honey, that is the beginning. Leaving the relationship that, isn't good for you is great. But now you have to deal with like the things that allowed you to stay past, its expiration point.
It was like, the breakup you thought was going to heal itself almost, of like, well, now that I'm out of it, I'm okay. And then in reality, like you said, it's like once you break up, you really get to take yourself into the driver's seat of, like you said, that's when the conscious healing can really begin. If it wasn't already beginning towards the end of that relationship. And so, yeah.
And I just thought of like temporary fixes. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, I'm hanging out with a bunch of people all of a sudden, and I'm going out all the time, which isn't sustainable. It's great. And it's like part of the journey to finding yourself again. But I didn't really find myself in like the healthiest ways and commit to those life habits of self-love and stuff before getting into a new relationship. And so if something's not a habit yet, it's easy to go back into an old pattern.
Is there a relationship you felt like you have healed in a way which you want to emulate again and again? Like, is there a previous relationship that you were like, oh, I really like how we handled that breakup and we're still in contact with each other? Or was there ever a big relationship that you appreciated how the uncoupling happened in your life from both parties?
Yes, actually. And I will say, even this one, we're friends now. I always try to end it and with like forgiveness and everything, and to really see both sides of the coin. And that helps, I think, to move on, is to realize like that the other person isn't necessarily not always an evil person with malintent.
Right.
Just that you both have a different healing journey or journeys to go through. But for the most part, most of my breakups, I've learned something new and carried that with me into the next thing. There's one in particular, which was such a struggle, but so necessary, and now is so beautiful. He is like he's my best friend. And
do you guys talk all the time?
Oh, I would not be surprised if he like texts me in the middle of this. So we own our acting studio together.
Wow. Wait, and this is not the current one. This is the previous one.
No, it's I'm like, I could go on for days. It's no, this is one we ended like 3-ish years ago, I think.
Okay.
But he's been in my life for about 13 or 14 years now.
Wow. So you were friends for a long time before you started dating?
Yeah. We met when I was a teenager, or we were both teenagers, and we just clicked kind of as friends, and then we bumped back into each other a few months later and somehow started hanging out like every day that summer. And he became my best friend. Me and his brother were closer at one point.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And so friends with the whole family.
The whole family.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting dynamic that I feel like you don't see a lot, because I don't think it's for everybody. But yeah, we were best friends for 4.5 years.
Wow.
Before
you started dating?
Yeah.
And then how long were y'all together?
7.5 years.
Wow.
We broke up in the middle, but accumulatively, yeah.
The whole thing. And then how did you guys realize you weren't for each other romantically, and how did that breakup commence because of that? Because being together 7.5 years, friends for 4, friends with the family, I mean, that's like you said, a person that's like imprinted your life, that thankfully is still in your life. But how did you guys navigate? We're not each other's romantic partners.
Oof. I realized it before he did, and I stayed. I think that's part of the reason we even got together in the first place, was because of our friendship. And of course, you want your life partner to be someone that you can laugh with, and you have this great friendship with, and you get along with, and you can talk to for hours. but prior to the relationship, we had a very like brother sister dynamic, which sounds so
Okay.
odd. There was alcohol involved when we first were like, huh, okay, yeah, I
Well,
can,
also you were really young too. I mean, I can imagine you were like early to mid 20s,
yeah,
getting
yeah,
together.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were like, huh, this is okay. I could see it. So we then developed feelings, and that was a whole back and forth of, well, I don't know if I like you. This is weird. Okay, no, this is weird. But then we both ended up together, and it was great. But we're also like brother and sister in the sense of how we argue with each other and our
Mm,
patience levels. Where like, I think if this person had not been, I think he would say the same. If he had not been in my life for as long as he had, I don't think we would last as friends, because it's like someone who just knows how to get under your skin.
right, right.
And
It was so rooted in friendship and from a platonic angle.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, I think our patience levels are very different, and our communication styles are very different, and so that created a lot of like stress on the relationship. And so I realized like this isn't someone, you know, and he realized it later, but this isn't someone that I'm meant to like wake up every day to, and
Mm,
go through like relationship struggles and build a family, and so we just kind of, I fell out of love, but I
okay.
had such a deep love that it kept me there, because I couldn't picture a world without him. And
Right, right.
yeah, and it was so brutal. I was like, well, can I make this work? Can we, and there's conflicting feelings. You're in and out of it. And
You feel like you're settling for both of you guys, where both of you deserve better. When you think of him as a friend, you want better for you and him.
yeah, exactly. And
Right, right.
I'm like, this isn't fair to either of us to not, be in a relationship where both people feel romantically towards each other. And, we tried to make it work, and it just didn't. And I think he knew it deep down too. I just came to that decision a little quicker. And so we ended things, and it was the hardest thing, because he had said if we ever end, he really confidently was like, I don't think that we could ever be friends, you know,
Mm,
together for so long. And so when I ended it, I was not only ending a relationship, I was ending my longest friendship, you know. I was breaking up with his whole family. I was ending it with one of my other best friends. And I'd kind of fallen out of friendships with other people. I hadn't dedicated enough time to those.
mm. So you
There,
felt was there a loneliness that you felt?
yes,
Just, I
thankfully.
mean, the
Yeah.
world dropping out of it. You said thankfully what?
Oh, thankfully, I had a good girlfriend who was
Okay.
there for me through it. Um, but even we weren't like super close. Like we didn't hang out all the time. So there was this loneliness that it was going to.
Right. I mean, your whole gut fell out from underneath you. You had no flooring.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I literally, like, I didn't know how I was going to make it out of that. I was a mess for so long. Just the thought of ending it sounded impossible. My sister would, ask me like, are you guys going to get married? And I would say, I don't know. I don't know if I want marriage and whatever. And so just obviously I should have left um, sooner, but I think, things happen for a reason, and I just didn't want to let go of that friendship. But so I break up with him, and I'm like, I am never going to see this person again. We actually had a talk about the business. He was like, you can have it. It's yours. I can't. And I was like, well, I was going to tell you, you can still be a part of it if you want to, but I understand if not. And he's like, I can't do it. I can't do this.
Mm.
And then
So you lost your business partner too, at least temporarily.
for a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And we share a dog. So this is Murphy here is not just mine, it's also Tyler's. He, I don't, you're not an it. But yeah, so,
You had to also co-parent, that you decided to co-parent in the beginning, Murphy.
well, yes, he said, though, you can have Murphy too. And I was like, no, that's your dog too. I can't picture Murphy not seeing you. And so I think we still had a few classes left, and we had, that forced us to stay working together.
And you would be acting teachers together in the class to the students, correct?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it was a
Oh, yeah.
co-teaching thing too. It wasn't just like office work. It was like every day you're in the office together.
Exactly.
In
So
class. Right.
together, teaching is together.
Story plan, like teaching, like a lesson planning. I'm assuming it's together.
Planning,
Yeah.
private
Oh
coaching,
man.
up with, everything was together. Like our lives were so
Living together, I'm assuming.
living together. We were writing partners. We were, just.
So what was the first step when you broke up? Because I think this is good for people listening, that you were essentially married without the paperwork. Married and then some. There's most married couples that don't work together.
Yeah.
And, you had shared a dog together at home. So what was the first step to sort of unpeel your lives? Like, what is the first thing you did when you broke up? Do you remember?
Yes, I got a hotel room.
Okay.
And I was like, I just need to be in my own space because it's going to be really hard. And I have a habit of it's really hard for me to break up with people. So, which I've gotten better.
Goodbyes and abandonment issues do not go hand in hand. Yeah.
No. And so I've gotten better with each breakup. It's like, okay, Katie, this is not life or death. No one's dying here. I mean, it does feel like a death, and it's the death of what was, but it's also a new beginning. So anywho.
Right, exactly. But I think that's really good to point out, that when the longer somebody prolongs a goodbye, the more you're losing for yourself in a sense. And that's a process that is going to take however long it's going to take. But we always think of a goodbye as, oh, I'm just leaving this on this end. But when you don't leave something on a certain end, you're leaving on one end or the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Metaphorically. So the longer people do prolong breakups, because goodbyes are really hard. What we don't realize in a goodbye, though, is you're already parting with a lot of your current self the more you don't say goodbye. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You're totally losing yourself, because deep down, there's something in you that is not happy here, probably isn't going to stay here. And so you're postponing your growth and your healing, and also the other person's, growth and healing. And not, it's easier said than done to be like, well, just get out.
Totally. But we don't view goodbyes as a dragon with two heads. Essentially, we just view it as just this one way, this one door. But really, it's a two-way street. There's two doors on either side of goodbye.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to view that in that moment, though, that all you think of is just the person you're leaving. And so that's hard to prolong that part, right? Or it's hard to go through with that part. So it's easy to prolong that part.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I feel like we have such a tendency to be like, well, let me try everything.
So there's no what ifs left at the end of the day to help you with the goodbye. Yeah.
Which can be helpful. I mean, that was the thing too, actually. So that's a huge thing. So I did try to end it.
Okay.
And then we decided we would go to couples therapy. And he knew that I didn't know if that was going to work, but I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot to see if because there was just a lot of damage from all the arguing and stuff like that. That just is at a certain point. Our therapist said, you have a lot of boxes. Okay. So let's picture all these problems as like little gift boxes around the room.
Mm-hmm.
This room is filled. Okay, so if you guys want to stay together, we're going to have to unbox everything, just so you know. And I think both of us then realized, like, this is obviously, relationships are a lot of work. But if you've gone past, the more you stay in it past the expiration point, the more issues there's going to be, they're going to be. And so it's just like, to heal that is a lot.
Right.
So you have to make that decision, like, am I going to leave or am I not? But I do think that going to couples therapy helped both of us. So realize that wasn't the relationship for us, and that
I miss you.
What we needed to work on ourselves, and that we probably were better off not with each other
as partners. So it's good that couples therapy was absolutely the right move to to check off a what if. Right.
Yeah, especially for that relationship that was, I was with him for so long and it was so difficult to think about an ending. So yeah, I think that helped for both of us. And so that he could kind of see what the relationship was from an outside perspective. And so that was step one. Step two, all along the way, I was like telling a couple friends, like very close friends, that some of the issues that we were having, and so I had their support. Friendship.
Okay.
I think a lot of people lose themselves in relationships, and not everyone, but we put so much focus on the other person and them being our, which is something I'm trying to work on now too, is them being our everything. They're our friend that we go to for advice. They're a friend that we go to laugh. They're a friend that we go to create with. They're a friend. And if you make somebody your source of everything, then you're like, oh, but I don't need to go hang out with so-and-so. If I want to do arts and crafts, I can just be like, hey, boyfriend, let's do,
Right. You can make them your everything. You just shouldn't.
Right. You should, they can be that, but they're their own everything, and you have other people that fill certain areas of love that you need outside of a romantic relationship. So learning to find those people is huge.
Right.
And relying on them. Separation. Sorry, I'm like so.
You're good.
I'm like,
no, you're good. You're good. We went to therapy and you realized like this is definitely not for me. And the first thing you did was get a hotel room.
Yes.
And I think that's absolutely, just walking us through that step by step, because it is so important for listeners of, I don't think we've had anyone on the podcast that wasn't married and having to unpeel so much of their lives from a relationship. And that's such a daunting task that you got through. And so shelling out, for how long were you in the hotel room for? Was it like an extended stay situation, like a couple weeks?
Yeah, I knew them.
Okay.
It was a few weeks. I just wanted to give him his own space, and I wanted my own space. And I felt like since I was the one ending it, it would be easier, if I just
the one that left
that situation. I usually try to make it as easy as possible for the other person.
Yeah, I get that.
So I went to the hotel room, which was nice to kind of also not be in the space that I was in with him. Kind of get my mind off of everything, to you feel a little more. I personally, I like going to hotels after a breakup, I found, just because I feel like it feels like a little bit of a vacation in a sense. You have people.
I was going to say there's a sense of like comfort, and I don't say spoiledness in a bad way. I mean like cared for. You don't have to pick up after yourself, like you're saying. Yeah.
You want to cry all day in bed, you can do that. Whatever, whatever it is.
Everything is excusable in a hotel room too. It doesn't. You could be napping at 3 p.m. It feels normal. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's kind of like just like a little healing getaway. So I do think that getaways, whether it's a hotel or like an Airbnb or something like that, can be really refreshing to kind of be with yourself, center yourself, and do something, be somewhere that you enjoy. Is really helpful. It was also like my first time we were together all the time. So it was the longest I'd been like alone for a while.
And what was that first reaction for you? Was it lonely, or was it refreshing, or was it just scary? You were sort of analyzing the quietness? It was scary?
Yeah, it was scary. I felt like I was grieving. At this point, I didn't know we would be friends. So I felt like he just died, like he's gone forever. And what did I do? It's scary stepping into that, and you just don't see an end at the time. You don't see a way out at the time.
Based on the fear, what made you not want to go back? Like why didn't you go back? Because you just in your heart felt something, or what was it?
For me, it was a number of things of like, we had broken up in the past and tried. We tried, and it wasn't working. And we were both getting older too. And I felt like it would be comforting. It'd be easy to go back and just get a sense of comfort. But part of it was for him too,
And that helped you think, okay, I'm caring for someone else in this breakup to make sure that we both are taken care of. I mean, seriously, that's a great, I think whatever people need to tell themselves, because that's the truth. It really is for both of you guys, that you felt like you were holding out for both of you guys to be
Yeah.
able to move on.
Yeah, because
Right.
if I went back, it was gonna be the same thing again. And could I leave again? You know,
Right.
it's so hard to do. It's like once you rip the Band-Aid off, why would you just go and stick it back on? So yeah.
Yeah. So you're in the hotel for a couple of weeks, and then how did you piece your life back together through the business, and who was that support system for you?
Um, my sister helps a lot behind the scenes when I need it. She's she went to a school for like business management and stuff like that. So she, helped out some. Tyler and I still somewhat talked when we needed to for classes, but a lot of it I kind of did on my own. And that actually helped me too to dive into work.
Okay, even with him, that's such an interesting perspective.
Well, I would do stuff without him too.
Okay.
But to dive into like the stuff that I could do on my own. Because like I built the website for the most part and like all this stuff. So there's like a lot of creative elements that I could kind of dive into. And I feel like work was good to keep my mind off of it. I think if you have too much free time, then it's great to cry and to let it out. But there's a point where it's like, okay, we can't do this all day, every day and let life fall by the wayside.
Productivity was a healing tool for you. It really gave you something to concentrate on after the cry session, waking up in the morning and then getting to work or at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And productivity. And then I think just trying to let go of, like, I had to process letting go of my guilt of ending it. And, I feel like of hurting somebody else. So working through that, realizing, this is the best thing, and rebuilding some friendships. I like some people that maybe I wasn't that close to. I was like, I'm gonna go try and see if we can bond on a level. I've never really explored this friendship. And, via my friend Lexi, actually, she introduced me to a lot of her friends, and that really helped. And it helped me find myself outside of that relationship. Because for some, it was Katie and Tyler,
I think that's also such a great message for the friends involved. Of if you have a friend going through the breakup and they are looking for that olive branch, like what a blessing to be that friend that can say yes. And it just shows the person going through the breakup, if you just put yourself out there, how many yeses you can actually get when, what that leads to, what a new life, just putting one foot in front of the other and putting yourself out there for someone to say, oh yeah, we're having a game night, or oh yeah, we're having dinner, and help someone else out of a hole. That's huge on both sides, for the friends and for the people. If you just put yourself out there, how many yeses you can get.
It's so true. And like without that, I think it would be way too lonely. And sometimes it does take you being the one initiating. It's not like someone's going to just magically, coincidentally invite you out that night. It's
right.
Even someone that you're not that close with, you don't have to talk about the issue at hand. You can just say, oh, I'm going through a breakup and I'm just, I need more friends in my life. Let's hang out, whatever it is. It's funny how many people are willing to be there and support you in those ways. And yeah, it's just a way of, I don't know, finding what you like. So that was great. And then through that, yeah, I don't know how we made our way back around. I think because we were forced to work together, it forced us to figure out our friendship. Because I don't think there was a world where we could just be like business partners and not be friends. We just, we're too close.
And you both love the acting studio, and that's why you decided to both still partake in it. That was like the biggest part to still want to work together, was ultimately because you both still love the business that you had built together.
Yeah, pretty much. And we mesh so well teaching together. I feel like our teaching styles are very similar. So like if I'm blanking on something for a second, he'll pick up the slack, and we just riff off of each other really well, which makes, like, especially online classes can be kind of boring when you have one person teaching.
Okay. Okay.
So we have like a fun good cop, bad cop dynamic sort of thing, or where we like make fun of the other. So yeah, we mesh really well, and we've both been teaching for, I've been teaching for as long as I've been acting,
Wow.
minus a year. So I started assistant
Okay.
teaching at a very young age. And so it's something I love and he loves. And they were like our kids, kind of, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you see them grow for so long, and acting it can be such a part of your personal journey. Really learning how to tap into other people's minds and in the way
Mm-hmm.
it work. And it requires you to confront a lot of things about yourself. And so we really got to know these people, and I think that love of them also kept us together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and Murphy probably, he's like, come on, Mom, I was a big part of it. Yeah.
Oh, he's so cute, just like laying with the paws in the corner right now. I'm dying. If people can't see this, you can go on YouTube to watch the actual visual of good old Murphy sleeping on his back, paws up. But I love that shows, I think, the biggest lesson of maturity, essentially, of accelerating maturity at a relatively young age, is realizing you both have this love for this business that you've built together, and the love for the clientele. Did the clients, like, did the customers, your kids suspect anything? Did you have to, where did the professional and personal line, I guess, for people that are going through breakups with their business partner, who are also their romantic partners, what was the best advice you feel like you went through with letting your customers or your students know?
We didn't let them know for a while when it was like still fresh for us,
Okay.
Just because I feel like there's a lot of emotions that can accidentally kind of slip.
Right.
And it wasn't necessary for people to know. We would just be like, oh, okay, I'll ask Tyler, or oh, okay, I'll ask Katie and get back to you, or whatever.
Right.
We did we were teaching two little twins, and we would teach them in privates, and we were close with their mom, so we told them, and they were like devastated. They were like, no.
Oh.
Yeah, so there were a few people.
Did the moms give the bad news to the kids, or did you guys have
We were
to do
there.
it?
They're not. We were like, yeah, we split up, but we didn't tell them till we were a bit more amicable. We were like,
right, on cordial terms emotionally.
Yeah, I think we were in the
Yeah.
same room together teaching
Oh, wow.
at the time, because we hadn't taught so much like in separate rooms, and it would kind of get hard with Zoom and like interrupting at the same time, especially since we're both teaching together. We'd be like, okay, let's do blah blah blah, and it's easier to do if the person's right there.
Right.
So we're like, we still hang out. See, it's okay, So yeah, I think. But then we eventually, I think we told people, or it came up, very casually. I don't know how we brought it up. I think we just said it. We were like, yeah, it's interesting because we broke up and blah, blah, blah. Try to brush past it. But they didn't care. They're like, I think love.
They were accepting of it. Yeah. I understand that. I mean, I think it obviously is going to depend on people's business. If they're adults, if they're kids, what's the dynamic, what's the industry to begin with. But like you said, acting something so emotional and vulnerable, and if you're close with your kids, it's only appropriate at an appropriate time to tell them. Yeah.
I think they love that they still got both of us,
Right. And I can imagine there's so many lessons, but what was like your biggest, I guess my biggest question for you is it's just, that's so hard to face someone every day or on a several times a week basis of facing your ex. I mean, you really had to be so secure in your decision of, this person is not for me, so it's okay for me to be able to physically be in the same room with them and connect with them even on a teaching level. How did you come to that consensus? I know you said because you broke up several times before. Was it that you were just really confident in that feeling, and so it didn't matter that you were in front? He was physically in front of you.
Yeah, and once I ended it, it ended. Like
it really ended mentally.
We knew. I think I just knew it was over because I knew I wanted to find my person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I stayed so long with this person who I love and adore, and I'm so thankful that he can still be in my life, that he wanted
Mm-hmm.
me, that we could make it work. Um,
Also respecting that boundary is you wanted to keep making that work. You wanted to keep that person as something in your life. So that was also respecting that boundary too of I'm so glad I get at him today and that's enough.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And
Okay.
like if he didn't want to, I had to be okay with that too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the fact that he also saw value in our friendship made it easy too. And like I was clear that, I think we both knew we weren't getting back together. There's just
Okay.
that we both knew that we did not work, even if we loved each other, and even if one of us maybe wanted to at the very beginning of the breakup. We knew, we both knew.
You were really confident. And was there anything that surprised you that either was harder or easier? Obviously, the idea of getting to have him in your life, you didn't know that when you initially broke up. Was there anything that was even funny or just something out of left field that you're like, I never saw that coming, that you learned from the breakup ultimately?
So one is, well, Murphy, I was like, how are we going to co-parent? Like, do we have to have a schedule? That's what people do, right? They're like, I'm going to pick the kid up on the weekends. And I was like, this is going to be, what do we do with the holidays and whatever. We both are so chill about it that it's like, I'm sad. Can I have Murphy for a few days?
Aw,
Right. Okay.
that's great.
Yeah. So it's just we trade off whenever. I have him most of the time because he has his family in California and like
Okay.
have pets and stuff. And so if he gets lonely, he has them. If I get lonely, I have Murph.
Right.
So it's pretty simple. So it's just we just trade them off. And so I thought that was really funny. And I think people think that's like, like you guys don't get upset if there's no planned thing. It's just I'm gonna pick up Murph right now. Okay.
Well,
So
you also get a free babysitter when you're out of town. It's a huge perk. As someone who has a dog, it's very expensive. It adds up.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice. And vice versa. And so
Yeah.
I mean it works out. And same thing with the business too. If one of us is like filming, the other one can cover, which is really nice.
Right.
I think how you have to have a certain level of friendship. I think we both really like been there for each other in the business through its struggles too. We're like, if it's not doing very well, we're mindful of, I think, where the other person, needs a little extra help and will help.
Right. Right. It's such an amazing just outcome that you have such an amazing confidant essentially in your life that tried to be your romantic partner. So you'll never have to wonder what if, can he be my everything? You're like, he can't, and that's fine. And we have such a beautiful gift as it is.
And we've been friends. So what's funny is we've been friends with each other's significant others since.
I was going to add, that was my very next question was how did the significant others, because you just got out of a 2-year relationship, how did that affect your relationship with Tyler, your ex? And then how did that affect your current partner, who's now your ex-partner? But how did they feel about this relationship in your life? Like, how did everyone feel?
It's that's been the funniest thing of it all was we both were like, how are we going to deal with this when we both get into other
Meet
relationships?
people. Yeah.
We do. And we both were like, well, I'm going to tell him that you're my friend. Sorry, suck it up kind of thing. And he was like, well, I'll do that too. And we're like, we'll see if that. Happens when it comes to. But we both, I have dated, I dated somebody who was like, yeah, totally okay with it. That's totally fine. That's your thing. Pretty quickly realized he was not a great partner. He was
Okay.
very controlling and very jealous, which I can understand anyone being jealous of this situation, but don't pretend to be okay with something in the beginning and then when you're really not, because it's creating, I mean, first, it's a lie. It's how you maybe
Yeah.
want the relationship to be. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. So
it's
that
setting yourself up for failure. Yeah.
pretty much it was, I
Yeah.
want you, so I'm going to say whatever I can to make
Mm.
it work for now. But he would be like, okay, what time are they getting on class? And, you know, like, okay, they're in class together. He'd be mad when I was doing Zoom class at his place.
Mm.
And I'd get off and I'm like, because I didn't come
I'm
down.
here.
Yeah, it would class would end and he'd be like, why were you upstairs for 5 minutes? And I was like, jeez. So yeah, that was one
that was easy to end, and you were able to, you know, have the camaraderie of your previous relationship. You're like, this is not for me.
Yeah. There were several factors in that one that made that one end. But which we can go into those things at a different time.
But if anything, that you know, it really accelerates. It weeds out the people that are not meant for you. You know, because so much of your life does work with your ex, and there's clearly nothing romantic about it. And so, at this point, aside from somebody that really helps you in your life, and you help him in his life, and so hopefully, the right partner can see they're all good things that are going to help you run well for the relationship that you're in, hopefully with that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and then Tyler taped me on my first audition that I booked. My first, I did a TV movie called Teen Spirit, and he taped me on that. And so I'm like, he's just been there through like my successes and everything. And like you said, there's nothing there anymore. Like if it was going to happen, it would have happened there's been a million opportunities for that. So we both solid in that. And so then he dated somebody who was okay-ish with it. They've broken up since, and we were friends throughout. And she was like, I don't know. She was like, I don't know why I was so jealous at the time. Like seeing your dynamic after me and Tyler were together, I'm like, oh, I totally get it. Like there's nothing to worry about. And I was like, yeah. So, and then my ex, my most current ex was so amazing about it. Like incredible. He said, I basically told him on date. So my advice to anyone who is friends with their ex, kind of like if you have a kid, get it out of the way pretty quickly, because you don't want to.
Good friends with your ex. Yeah.
Good friends with your.
Good friends with your ex. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, not. I guess as quickly as you need to, but I find it easier to just kind of like let the person.
I think, yeah. Especially if he's consistently in your life and it's such a platonic relationship that is such a vital part of helping you, you know, especially from a business standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know not everyone's going to be okay with that. And that doesn't make them a terrible person. It just is not the person that is going to work in my life and my dynamic, my relationship dynamic. So, but this guy was, I think maybe for a second, he was a little bit like, okay, he was cool about it from the beginning, but when he saw how close we were, I think he maybe was a little suspicious and kind of like hung out to kind of suss the situation out. And then I think I saw very quickly that he was like, okay, they don't work like that, and there's nothing there, and I can do that, and I feel comfortable now. And so, I mean, it got to.
If anything, I'm sure he's friends with Tyler.
Yeah. So they get along, and exactly. I mean, he was so patient and so understanding of that, which is just everything I could have asked for more. I never thought I would find somebody like that okay with the situation. Where there were points even where we were all going to a friend's birthday party, and then Zach was like, I'm going to hang back actually. And I was like, what? You're just going to let me go to the party with Tyler? Like in my mind, I'm like, that's okay. Like be a little worried, you know? Me being like,
that's funny.
But
that's hilarious. But yeah, it was just, it's interesting when there's a business partner that happened to be an ex, because usually a business partner that you're working with several times a week, the spouse is somewhat acquainted with, or the significant other, the partner is acquainted with. So it is quite funny and really lovely to see when it can be also a romantic ex. That's the business partner.
Yeah.
And everyone gets along to that extent.
Yeah. It's great. And I think another good test that just popped in my head is like, if you can't talk to your ex about new people in your life, then I would question why. I mean, I know there's like at first you don't want to hurt the other person and things like that, but at a certain point, you should be able to discuss other romantic partners.
Mm-hmm.
So like Tyler's been there for me through breakups. He knew about the guy that like my latest ex who he knew about Zach before I ever started dating him, and was like helping along that whole journey. And so that's an interesting thing. And how I knew he didn't have feelings too was like when he was supporting me and I was there for him, and like I could hear about whatever and not be affected, and vice versa.
Right. It's a nice feeling. I have one ex that I genuinely root for him with every relationship he enters. We're still not super great friends, but we're absolutely friends, consider each other family. It is a very odd dynamic. But yeah, I get hurt when he doesn't check in as a friend. It has nothing to do with romance. But yeah, no, it's a lovely feeling when it can be such water under the bridge. And I really hope that people who are going through that like really intense breakup with so many overlapping aspects of their life can, like you said, learn that they shouldn't be someone's everything. You shouldn't want that for yourself or your partner, as well as just navigating being able to turn off the romantic love fully and really respect and want to keep and harness and hold what you currently have with an ex. That is such a beautiful relationship shift. That's not an easy thing to do.
No. And I think it's also, you have to discuss boundaries too, and respect your current partner's boundaries if they're willing to work through that. Were you guys together for a long time?
We would only a year, but not 7.5 years. But it's been 10 years since we even dated. So it's been a long time. Very long time. So I've had many partners where they were, I think for the most part, fine with but we were not business partners. So that's why it's fascinating to hear your story of the fact that you guys are, worked together for so long and are still working together. And it's really cool to see that. I think people get a lot out of. So yeah, no, I appreciate your story. We're going to do a little lightning round. So first thing that comes to your mind it can be one word answer. It can be a one sentence answer. When was your first breakup?
Serious one when I was 18, 19.
19. And then who was your first crush? It could be celebrity. Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter. And then do you have a model relationship? It could be friends, parents, a current relationship you used to have.
My grandparents. They are best friends. They are still so in love.
Oh.
I love them.
What is your go-to breakup movie?
I don't have a go-to, but I love this movie called The One I Love. I don't know if that's really a breakup movie, but it's a good one.
No, it's okay. The One I Love. Who's in that? Is that an old movie or
Brothers? It's really not. I'm like
the Duplass brothers. Okay, is that the one? Is that the Elizabeth Moss movie?
Yes.
I love that movie. It's so good.
Like it's not really a breakup movie, but it's it's about couples that came to.
They go to the couples and they go to that couples retreat house, right?
Yes, yeah. And they basically go to like work on their relationship. So
that's a great movie to watch for anyone going through a breakup. I think that's an excellent movie. I love that movie.
It's so good. It's one of my
there's so many twists and turns and you're like, this is not a horror movie, but what is this? It's a great movie. Such a good movie. And then your breakup song. Do you have a breakup song?
I don't know. Right now, I really like Vampire. I don't know. It just makes me feel good.
But... Okay, Vampire. And then breakup food. It could be stress food, healthy food, any food.
Stress food. Ice cream, vegan ice cream.
And then the first thing you do after a breakup?
Cry it out.
Cry it out. Yeah. Okay. And then what is your number one relationship red flag, or a red flag in a relationship or potential relationship?
Put downs. Little
put down. So okay, so like belittling or little digs.
Even if it's like in the slightest, they show up really like simply and sneakily, and I always am like, is that going to be a bigger deal later?
Okay. And what is your number one green flag in a relationship or potential relationship?
Someone invested in getting to know me as a human because they want to love and honor me the way that I can appreciate it the best, and vice versa.
And then what is a fun quirk of yours that your past partners have either made fun of you about or love you for or you annoy them with? What is that fun quirk that you think you have that they've told you about?
Fun quirk. Making silly voices and singing and random bad
moments throughout the day. Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And the last but not least, you've given a lot of advice this episode, but we end every episode with words of wisdom. And do you have any just final advice for someone going through a breakup like your past relationship today that you talked about?
Support system. Therapy has gotten me through everything. If I wasn't in therapy, I don't think I would be where I am today. And with that, healing your traumas, because they will keep showing up over and over until you do that work.
Thank you so much. People are going to get so much out of that today. Seriously, thank you.
No, of course. Thank you. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place. I'm like,
no. It was lovely. No, this is like I said, having so many overlaps in a relationship is something that we haven't talked about yet. So I think it's going to be good. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for checking out this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts and become an exclusive member on our Patreon. And we'll see you next week. Uncoupling Podcast is produced by Stampede Ventures, Jason R. Ellis, and Holland Roden.